Okay, so what we're going to see here, again, this was for our Denver folks. So we're talking about the Elway Academy here, and we see three sets of users, so 3 different swim lanes. And basically, the Elway Academy, the facilities department, owns a fleet of trucks, and their job is really to provide safe and healthy environment for streets and alleys of the campus. So what we're going to see is a driver who's going about doing his work day to day. He identifies an issue. He'll generate a work request. That work request will go to a planner. The planner will review that work request, convert it to a work order, and then that work order will come back out to the maintenance crew, and the maintenance crew will see on their mobile device the work order that was assigned to them. They'll work on it and complete it, and from there, the demo is basically going to show, if we go to the next slide there, the architecture of what we're going to demonstrate. So yeah, maintenance crew is working on the work order, they complete it out, and you'll kind of see that end to end. So the architecture at a high level here really is you're going to see the Cyan platform, which is cloud-based, and that's really the Blue Dot Cyan mobile app platform where basically processing transactions and it's their administration portal. That's what's talking and provisioning out to the mobile actual devices. And then you'll see a lot of BPM and the process and the composer that we built within Composer. And of course how BPM works with SOA Suite. Of course, for customers, again, the cloud offering there would really be, at this point, the private cloud piece of it. And then we're going to be showing you the back-end EAM component, which is, in this particular example, EBS EAM. And that we're showing as kind of the on-premise back-end EAM system. So here you're going to see, great example of how we're leveraging BPM in SOA Suite to integrate mobile-based, mobile and cloud-based applications with your back-end on-premise ERP. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Vivek, and first we want to show you basically that process that we just depicted and how that's been built in BPM Composer.
Okay.
Vivek.
Hello, everybody. So let's first start with the BPM Composer screen. So as some of you might already know about BPM and SOA Suite products, BPM is a product which allows you to model and design your business processes in the web fashion. So in this process, in this particular use case, this is a BPM Composer screen, which is it's a very key screen which lets you design and model the business process the way you want. And in this screen that we have designed this and modeled this process, which Danny just described the use case. So the request comes from the mobile device. So someone creates a mobile service request, it comes here, and we do the business rule validations. So we validate the service request type here based upon the business rules that we have configured, and then if it approves, it's going to send an approval email to the initiator, and from there on, it will actually create a work request in the EBS EM instance. If it follows this path, it will send the rejection email and the next steps to be taken by the initiator why it actually got rejected. So, and it will end the process right here. And from here on, we will create the work request, and then we will convert the work request from work request to a work order. That will happen inside EBS EM instance. And from there, that work order details will be assigned. And then it follows through, comes out of the EBS system and goes to the tablets and the mobile screens of the actual workers who's going to perform the job. And they will see that actual work order to be performed, and they can perform the work and complete the work order with their actual work. So let's move on. So now the next thing which we're going to see is the mobile screen, where we'll start with actually creating a service request. So that part will be shown shown to us by Randy. So this is the actual mobile device that Randy has. So we are just remoting into that device. So Randy is going to show us how we can create a service request in the Cyan platform. Over to Randy.
And this is, this is some pretty fun technology. So I'm actually in Denver with this particular, device. And part of the Cyan platform is an enterprise-grade mobile device management tool. And one of its features is to allow this remote control so that somebody, at the help desk or somebody in IT can actually do some troubleshooting and see what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the application here. A couple of things about the application. It is designed with responsive design principles, which means that it changes its look and feel based on the different size devices that it's on. So we're using a smartphone here, and I'm going to go ahead and log into the application. We see up in the upper left-hand corner that it automatically synchronizes when we log in. It will periodically do that. So when a network's available, it'll take advantage of that network. It'll pull down any changes that are coming from the back-end system, as well as submit any data that has been changed on the device. If there is no network available, it goes into a store and forward mode. So the user can continue to interact with all the data that's there, including making new work requests, but that data will stay on the device until a network connection is reestablished. So that's really what I want to focus on here. I'm going to click the button down on the bottom that says Add New Work Request. The first thing that I get, Danny, can you, or Vivek, can you go ahead and just right-click on that and say Remote Control again?
Sure.
We had a timeout there on the mobile device management platform, so we'll go ahead and just restart that and bring that back over.
This is Janet. Can I ask you a question? I'm watching this, and I don't really see what's happening here. We're in a flow, and which one of these actions caused the work to go to a mobile device?
So we're not at that point yet, Janet. The first thing that we're showing is creating a work request on the mobile device. So we're kind of starting from the perspective of this driver is out in the field and has encountered a problem and wants to report a work request, create a work request and submit that into, the EBS EAM product.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
right,
so
he's
yeah,
kicking off.
he's kicking one off. That's right. So that's the first scenario, and then we'll show a work order coming back to the device, okay?
Okay.
All right, so in this particular case, the first thing I need to do is indicate what asset I'm creating the work request on. So I have a little search screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and just say truck. And I'm looking for, my vehicle. So my vehicle is this one right here, this DTF 35,000. I'm going to go ahead and select that particular asset. It pre-populates, some of the read-only values there so that I know it's the right one. I'm going to enter a description for my work request. So I want to indicate that the, engine trouble light turned on. And then I'm going to indicate the work request type. All right, so now I have a selection of, options that I can choose from. And, we want to show you a fail scenario first. So I'm going to go ahead and select planned. Planned is a work request type that isn't going to be processed, through our workflow. It'll go through the failure path. So that's why I'm selecting this particular one. And now I'm going to, hit save. And you notice that it's synchronizing up here. So as soon as I complete something like that, it's going to go ahead and submit that data if, again, there's a network connection. That gives us, very much real-time capabilities when we're connected to a network. If that network wasn't there, no problem. That particular data would be sitting here in what we call the outbox. So it's sort of like your email. If you were to create a new email or respond to an email, it'd go to the outbox. But in this case, it kind of went straight to the sent box, and there's that new work request that we just sent off. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Vivek, and you can show what happened.
Thank you, Randy. So as we have seen, the request has left the Cyan platform. The work request got created, and it's sent to the Fusion middleware BPM process. Now let's see what happened is in the BPM process. So I'm going to open my Enterprise Manager, which is installed on one of our servers, and we'll see whether the request comes in here or not. Let's refresh this. Right. And as you see that we saw the new process here that just came in, and let's open it. And as soon as we open this process, and we get a screen like this, which actually tells us what happens. Now let's open an instance in more fashionable, where we can see the actual process execution path, what actually happens. So this green line, that tells me what happened in the process. So this is a similar process that we saw in the BPM Composer screen, but this is the process execution path flow screen, which tells me that the work request first came to the process, BPM process, and there it does some business process validation, where we validate it against the incoming service request type, and it was not one of the configured types, so that went to the rejection path. So as part of this process, if it goes to the rejection, it's going to send me an email with the rejection email. So let me pull up my rejection email, see my inbox if I receive one of those. So that's my email, which I just got.
Right. So going back, Vivek, sorry to cut you off here, but going back to the process flow, we're saying, okay, this was a planned work request type, and the comments that came in from Randy saying engine trouble light turned on. So we're saying, since this is a planned work request type, we ask that you contact Ford Maintenance Shop directly for this work request, and they provide the phone number there and the contract number. And basically, it's just managing the flow and the transactions, right? We don't want to get things into the EBS EAM instance if they're not applicable. We don't want to overburden the planner's inbox to say, hey, this is something that's already contracted with Ford, and since it's a planned work request type, this asset and this issue needs to go directly to Ford. So it doesn't even actually hit the EBS EAM instance at this time.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good filtering mechanism that we put there. So now we will go ahead and create the right work request, so that will actually going to create the service request in the EAM instance. So I'm just going to send the control back to Randy so that he will walk us back to the process and create another service request with the right information, with the right service type.
Sounds great.
Randy,
thank you very much, Vivek. So I'm going to go ahead and just create another work request here. So I click on that button. I'm going to go through the process of finding my vehicle again. Now, we might actually use an asset ID, for example, to locate a specific asset. So we could, enter or scan that value in if we had barcode scanning capabilities. This time, for the description, I'm going to say, someone stole the spare tire. Okay, a little bit of spelling issue there, but we won't worry about it. I'm going to select a different work request type. This time I'm going to indicate that it's property damage because, I know in this case we're going to see a service request actually get generated. So I'm going to go ahead and save this particular new work request. Again, note that it's synchronizing right away. If I'm fast enough, sometimes I can actually catch it in the outbox. I missed it again. So now, we have another new work request that's been generated and sent into the system. So Vivek, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Randy. So let me open my Enterprise Manager instance again to see if that request came into us or not. So there it is. So there's another request which Randy just submitted from the mobile device. That's another service request. So let's open this one and see what came in. Now as we can see, this log is increased. So that means it followed a different path. Let's see what the visual diagram of what it follows. Let me click on the flow. Now this is under process execution path. Same process, but again, as we follow the green line, that tells us what exactly happened in the process. So we received the service request. We validated the request type information. This time it's matched with one of the configured rules that we implemented in the BPM side. It approved. And as soon as it approves, it's going to send an approval email to the initiator that tells that email has, the service request has been approved. So let me see if my inbox has an approved email or not. So that's the email that I just received. That tells me that my work request is being processed. This is different than what we saw with the denied one. And this has the information which Randy just put in the mobile work request information screen.
With the misspells from Randy's side.
Exactly.
Sure.
And basically it's notifying them that, you know, they'll be contacted within 1 to 2 hours, and their work request is now being worked on.
Going back to the process, after it sends the email, it's actually going to create a work request in the EBS EM side. So let me pull up our EBS EM instance to see if we got that work request created in that or not. Guys, this is our EBS EM instance that we have configured at Sofbang side. And so this is the asset management screen. Some of you might be familiar with the EBS EM instance. These screens probably look familiar to you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the work request to see if I have that work request which Randy just created or not. So by date. Yep, right here.
So now we're going back to the process flow. We're in the planner's swim lane, right? So he's got the work request. He needs to figure out what to do with it to get somebody from the maintenance crew to go about and execute on this work order that will be converted now.
Yeah, so this is the actual work request that's got created in the mobile device, and it's created in the EM instance. So now the next step in the process is to convert this work request to an actual work order so the mobile crew can work on it. So I'm going to go ahead in the work order screen, and I want to create a work order from a request. Click on request. I know my request number. I just copied from there, and I'm going to click go, and that's my work request. So to create a work order, there are many different ways. I can actually use this button here, which actually can pre-populate some of the fields that were needed to create a work order. So I'm just going to use this one. So this is a create work order screen. As you can see, some of the information is already filled in from the request. And we're just going to use this one. And I have to change a couple of fields here to create a successful work order. The status, I have to change it to release. If we leave it to draft, it's just going to stay in EBS. It's not going to go out. And our EBS instance is configured for the GL period 2012. It's not configured for 2013. So the dates I have to change, the year I have to change to 2012. But for some of those who have configured all these GL financial periods configured fine for the current month, they don't have to. They can choose the actual scheduled start date and end date. For the demo purposes, we're just going to use the old year. So.
Okay. So here we see that the work order has been created, and we get a little work order number on the top left there. So it's W0245813, right?
That's right. So at this point, the work order has been successfully created in EBS, EM side, to be actually worked upon. What happened in this process is, as soon as the work order is created, we have a BPM process that's polling for active work orders that it's going to create. So it polls that information. It does some business process validation based on the statuses. If it's released, it's going to grab that work order and send it to Cyan. And Cyan is actually going to populate that to the mobile device of the crew workers.
Great, great. So now we're shifting gears there and saying, okay, the maintenance crew, so that third swim lane that we saw there, you know, that these people need to know, okay, what do I need to work on for the day? So the planners converted this work request into a work order, and now we're going to turn it back to Randy to show how that work order comes to Cyan.
Perfect. So, you know, if you want to pull up the other device, Vivek, the one, that's it. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to use a different device this time so that I can show you, you know, that the application actually changes the way it looks based on the device it's running on. So I'm going to open up Cyan here. I'm going to log in as the same user. Again, you're going to see that it starts synchronizing right away. And now I'm going to, you know, go down to the bottom of my list here. Okay, so we haven't received that new work order yet. So I can wait a moment until it does one more sync and it'll show up. Or at any point, you know, I could manually initiate a sync. I go on right over here. This shows me what's going on. And I can go ahead and manually initiate one. It'll fire up another sync process. So we'll see that it's synchronizing right here. Now again, it would do this automatically on a configurable interval. And when we go back now to our inbox and we go down to the bottom, there's our new work order. So work order 246813, someone's stolen the spare tire. And now we could go in and actually work on that work order. But what I want to be clear here is at this point in our proof of concept, we're not pulling all of the data down that's available. So I'm going to switch to a dummy work order that has more data in it. I'm going to select the first one that we have here and just give you an opportunity to see some of the additional features that will be available. First and foremost, you know, we have all of our work order header information over here. It's a little hard to see, but the work order headers actually color-coded, and we see that same color code back here on, you know, the job cards themselves. So if we want to filter or quickly identify high priority ones versus low priority ones, it's easy to do. We see that same information inside the work order detail. We'll be able to support reviewing historical work on the asset associated to this work order, as well as, you know, viewing the location of this work order on a map. So those are features that are coming. We also have, you know, these other areas here that give us some great summary information for each of the different, you know, areas of the work order. So, you know, we're very task-centric. We see that we have 2 of 4 tasks completed. We see what our next available task is, as well as the task description. And we just simply click on the little button here in order to expand that. And now we can see each of the individual tasks, the details about that task. And furthermore, we have the opportunity to see, you know, the checklist items or the labor bookings or the inventory that has been associated to that particular task. So some really nice, you know, capabilities in terms of, again, quickly at a glance, seeing important information. And these are little hot links. So if I click on one of these buttons, it's going to take me to that specific list of checklist items, for example, filtered for that task. Likewise, you know, I can come up to the top here, and now I can go down into the checklist items. I see that I have 7 checklist items, 2 of which have been completed. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Now I see those 7 items. I see the 2 that are completed and, you know, the 5 that are not. And completing checklist items is as simple as simply touching the button, right? So as soon as I touch the button, it's going to go ahead and indicate that that's complete. And now up here at the top, it tells me that I have 5 of 7 complete. I can go ahead and close that particular one. I can go into my labor. I can see the labor entries that have already been booked against, you know, this work order and a specific task. I can add a new one as appropriate. So that's going to bring a little dialogue down, give me the opportunity to capture that information and go ahead and save that as a new labor entry. I can review comments, including the last comment that has been created against any of the tasks in this work order. I can go ahead and review and, if appropriate, make edits to those, or I can add a new comment. And one of the great things about these devices, these new modern devices, is they have some awesome features, like the little microphone here. This is my new comment. All right, so maybe I don't spell so or speak so clearly, but you can see, that we were able to, quickly and easily get a new comment in there, and now I can go ahead and save that. Oh, let me get that little guy down. And there's, my spelling is as equally as poor whether I speak it or type it. And then finally, we have the opportunity to review parts down here. We can see, the planned parts and materials. If we need to go ahead and open those to issue a part or material, we can do that, or we can add a new part and material much the same way that we did the labor. And, as we continue to evolve and grow the product, we'll be able to add more modules in there. We can create custom modules to meet, unique needs and requirements for our customers.